Okay, welcome to the Bucky Call for December 9th. As we move ahead, we're we're about halfway through this book, roughly speaking. If you can see the divider there, we've got this much more to go, and we're at page 219. And since he has a bunch of chronologies in the back, the actual book ends somewhere around 346. We're at 219. So we're about 2/3 of the way through, unless we want to read through all the chronology of scientific discoveries and artifacts, which he uses a lot in the book. We've already read through them, but it may be interesting to go through that. And then at the end, he has another list, chronological inventory of prominent scientific, technical, and economic political world events from 1895 to the date. And then there's a regular concordance. And there's, I'd say, well, I don't have to guess. I can say that 409 to there's 347 to 409. So there's about 50 pages of chronologies here at the end of the book. So we're about 2/3 through, and we're not going to finish it before the end of the year, but we're having a lot of fun. And maybe we'll get some stuff done today. So, Anne, how are you feeling, and what do you expect to get out of today? What's your intention?
Yes, I just checked back, and this is my book, right, where I record everything for our Bucky calls. Yeah. And I think I joined in July of 2021, so that's about almost 2.5 years. And the book, I only have a few pages left. Can't see it.
Wow.
Where is it? I only have a few pages left. There's a few pages left, and it's just nice. I'll start a new book next year. But
good luck.
Yeah, so looking at everything, my goodness, how far we've come. I know how much I have actually grown, from the calls, and it's been amazing being able to connect with you, Steve, Joe, and Manu, and whoever else shows up here, and Raffers and Julian. We're still meeting them every Thursday evenings, with my team. They haven't gotten started yet, but the training and all that's been done. But for one bit to get moving, right? So it's been pretty life-changing in many ways for me. And I've been just starting to talk to my team about this Commonwealth. I think that's the biggest issue right now that we need to solve. So I'm having a discussion to see how we can start it maybe in our organization. That's the one place we can control, and so on. So it's been very, very I don't think there's one word to describe this past 2.5 years with the meetings. Okay, but it's been an amazing journey. I just want to say thank you very, very much. So yes, Joe, how do you feel, and what do you expect to take away today?
Well, thank you, and thank you for those words. I actually, to be quite honest, I had a little bit of a headache, but I'm feeling better now. And so, I too am extremely grateful for having the opportunity to be on this call. It's been a few years for me as well. And there's a lot of different concepts that you start to be able to pull together at different points in time. And so the patience with this group has really paid off. And I was actually, oddly enough, I was thinking about how important it is just to understand the interconnectedness of things, to understand the relationships of different domains. It's not simply a mental exercise. It's something is, how do you solve a problem with limited resources? And essentially that, you know, that I was just looking at it in terms of almost and randomly in terms of within sustainability goals for the UN and things along those lines. And you really can see where just how complex systems are, um, but just how helpful going through Bucky has been. So we're just coming off of from last week, the importance of comprehensivity, both from a citizen perspective and a personal perspective. And so I think that, you know, we're just looking to continue to build on that. Steve, how do you feel, and what are you taking away? What do you want to take away from today?
Gee, I'm really, both of you have said some wonderful things about what you've gotten out of this call. It's been great having you on the call because you're kind of intuitively engaged in creating a kind of community that Bucky theoretically, you know, presents in this book. You've already been engaged in it. So for you to be engaged in that and then be able to see principles and ideas in the book and how they coordinate, that's really powerful. I can only imagine. I've always been a guy who cared about what was going on around me. I have a lot of people who are very, very focused, and as long as they win the game, they're happy. But I'm the person who stands back and looks at the game and notices there are people left out. And that has always bothered me. And to read Bucky, I find out there's a science about it. You know, it's the way energy works, it's the way systems work. And there's something so focused and so distracted and so disconnected, you know, Western idea and imperialism itself is just so focused and so distracted and so it subordinates everything. And there is a better way. And to learn the science of it has really, really amazing. Richard Ramsey's on this call. He, for 40 years, was using the principles of Buckminster Fuller in his psychology, sociology studies as a professor, and used the tetrahedron as a model to get people to look what's behind that they can't see, you know, the other side of the coin. And I got to tell you that Manu being on these calls and his engineering background and his understanding of topology has really helped me get into the science of it. I am overwhelmed with this n squared minus n over 2 formula. I mean, there's this idea of, like Joe was talking about, the idea of connections and interrelationships, and as you build your business and you're interrelating and trying to bring all these people on board to this vision that you have. And I think we've kind of all intuitively lived our lives with that paradigm, and it's cool to find a community of people, and especially the formulas about it that are in Buckminster Fuller. You know, if I was reading Buckminster Fuller without Manu on the call, without understanding topology and the 720 degrees idea, which is profound because to understand quantum mechanics, 720 degrees is essential to understanding quantum mechanics, the Schrodinger equations, Maxwell's equations, electromagnetic energy. And to find out, here's Bucky, who's taken that science and put it in sense of a community interrelationship. It's just profound to me. I've just loved this group. I love what we're learning. And I love each of your contributions. And it's been good to have John when he's been on, and Susan. It's just been wonderful and I'm glad we kept a small crew. I had a musical thing today I'll share with you. I did a band rehearsal today. I have this band, and I had a good thing happen. So I have a band called St. Thomas Axis, and they're down here, if you can see this, it says 52 years of rock and roll. My band, St. Thomas Axis, 52. I actually had a band called the Toads in 1964. So that goes back even further. But we've been playing around for a while, and tonight I was coming out of my rehearsal and somebody called me up and invited me to play a band job on the 20th of January, which is a Saturday night, so I won't be on this call. And they're going to have a birthday party. She's celebrating her 60th birthday on January 20th. I will be 78 years old on January 20th. So I said, I said, let's go, let's celebrate our parties together. We'll both celebrate our 60th birthday at your party. She's all excited. So I just had to share that because music is another love of mine. So I don't know why I shared that. So, but I really am grateful, and we'll continue our reading. And I'm so glad to be here, and I just can't wait to see what I learn next. The way Bucky has put together how economic resources have affected the giants in terms of how they control everything. And I've just learned a lot from there. Okay, that's my little share. Thank you all for being here, and here we go. I watched I missed last week's call, but I watched the video, and we started. I think you guys read this, but we thought we'd start from here again. So, and I'd like to rotate around a little bit, Joe. I don't mind you reading a couple verses, but I'd like to read. And if you want to read, that's great too. If you don't, that's fine. So everybody who wants to read can read. It would be cool. I'll read a couple, then we'll go from there.
Okay. What page is that on? 69?
This is on page
Give me 1 second. I'll be
218. It's the very, very last sentence of page 218.
Oh, okay.
And then it splits on to page 219 within 2 lines there. Okay. Okay, so here we go. In 1969, I initiated and students developed what have since become annual World Games seminars, attended by university faculties, students, scientists, engineers, and government officials. For its first 3 years at Southern Illinois University, next at the University of Southern California, and thereafter for 4 years at the University of Pennsylvania, and for 1 year at the University of Massachusetts. In 1979, the seminar was conducted partially at New York University and partially at the University of Pennsylvania. In 1980, at the University of Pennsylvania. By the way, I'm just going to insert here, this world game idea, his idea of showing the globe in a sphere that breaks down into a Dymaxion flat Earth that allows from the tip of Cape Horn to the tip of the 2 tips, South America and Africa, going across, and showing how this is one basic landmass and how the people could share electricity from solar power. The idea of humanity being one group, this world game idea is just profoundly cool. Just profoundly cool. 7 years ago, the World Games annual research activity culminated in a book written by Medard Gable, Energy, Earth, and Everyone, Doubleday, 1980, which demonstrated beyond any argument that humanity can carry on handsomely and adequately when advantaged only by its daily energy income from the sun gravity system. I love the way he says that. World Game also published a second book by Medard Gable, Hoping. Oh, I don't know. Hoping. It says HOPING. Food for Everyone, Doubleday. So this time on World Food Resources, which shows that we can take ample care of all human food needs. The 1979 World Game was participated in by many experts on world food matters. I'll read one more. World Game will become increasingly effective in its prognosis and programming when the world-around satellite interrelayed computer system and its omni-universe operative time-energy accounting system are established. Wow, if Bucky were alive today and he saw how connected we are and how tribal we are, it would boggle his mind. This system will identify the kilowatt-hour expressed world inventory of foods, raw and recirculating resources, and all the world's unique mechanical and structural capabilities and their operating capacities, as well as the restrictive kilowatt hours of available energy income derived operating power with which to put their facilities to work. All the foregoing information will become available in respect to all the world around technologies, environment controlling, life sustaining, travel and communication accommodating structures and machines. Wow, I just wonder how he would feel really to see how tribal we still are. You know, here's Anne working slavishly to create a new paradigm, and with some, I think, with some successes, and yet you hit those walls. You share with us some of the walls you hit. Any comments or questions on what we read so far? Cool. Who wants to read next?
We can go ahead.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah. All the sulfur coming annually out of all the chimneys around the world exactly equals the amount of new sulfur being mined and distributed annually. I can't read that, to keep. Yeah, okay. That was just as covered, to keep world industry going. The people who let the sulfur go into the air are not in the sulfur business. World
See,
government
I just have to interrupt here. This to me is he hits the nail right in the head.
Yeah.
I hear all the time on the news, I hear people talking about climate change and how humans are causing or not causing climate change. And to me, the discussion is a complete distraction, because the discussion ought to be, don't put sulfur in the air. If you have a product and you're creating sulfur, then let's use the sulfur and do something with it. But we don't talk about, you know, cosmic accounting. We don't talk about fully burdened accounting. We're arguing about whether humans cause climate change. And to me, I don't know, because climate changes every 10,000 years. And who knows what's going on? I do know that when you're putting your sulfur in my air, it's not helping anybody. That was my rant. Thank you. I'm complete.
No, and I agree with you. When I was talking about the interconnectedness of things a little bit earlier, I was really kind of referring to the idea of cosmic accounting. Instead of just looking at accounting in a very narrow sense, kind of looking at it from its highest level, and then kind of coming down back to deconstructing a problem, so that you can, attempt to solve it. But within that process, you also start to identify the connections that what may be driving the problem in the first place. And a lot of time they're design issues.
Yeah. And what would it hurt them to capture their sulfur and put it back into the... And in the last chapter we read last week, that there's enough iron out there right now that if we just recycled the iron that we already have on the planet, we wouldn't need to mine any more iron. There's enough out there. It just blows my mind. Okay, cool. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Joe.
World government will require all industries to install the already successfully proven technology therewith precipitate and recover all of their profit-wise unwanted chemical byproducts. Underwriting all of those costs of installation and operation, world government will give tax credits to all those industry complying with the order, so that those industries can compete with those in the industry who do not have such pollution problems. World government will then stockpile all the chemical substances recovered from all previous liquid, gaseous, or solid dumpings, fumings, or runnings off, known ignorantly as pollution. The value of the recovered resources will more than offset the tax rebates given by the government in order to enforce precipitation. all the chemical substances in all their states are essential to the maintenance of the integrity of eternally regenerative universe. Nature has no pollution. This is a word. This is a word coined in human ignorance regarding the presence of the right chemicals being released in the wrong places by those who profit only through selfish preoccupation and non-consideration of others. The hour-to-hour changes in the inventory of world government stockpiling of all recirculable substances will be constantly fed into the world integrated computer together with locations and summaries of the total inventories available for new tasks. World government will replace altogether all the scrapmongers who, to increase prices, hold their products off the market until they become scarce. World Game Records make it clear that the big money makers of early USA, can't say it.
Oh, sorry. I'm making notes on what you've been reading and I got distracted. Pardon me. Sorry.
No worries. So world records make it clear that the big money makers of early USA history, those who funded Harvard Business School, the Wharton School of Finance, etc., may have made their money in ways that were legal but ruthlessly scheming. The students at today's business schools are not given courses on how to cheat their mother-in-law or how to sell your friends short, because the business schools make it plausible that fortunes may be won in a legal manner. We have present-day business executives trying to find legal ways of getting the public's money.
Wow.
World gaming makes it imminently clear that the simplest way for top executives of the super corporations to make profits and keep their own salaries rising is to make their corporation the first in its field to raise prices despite any government, public, or labor opposition. The second way is to cut down on personnel at the retailing level and to force customers to wait in lines. No single human waiting in waiting line seems too formidable by itself. But if we consider all those standing in all the lines at all the different airlines and at all the world's airports, as the computer does, and all the people waiting to secure an airline ticket, waiting for half an hour on the telephone after hearing the ticket clerks, please hold. And all the people waiting for 20 minutes to place their orders in all the restaurants around the world, we discover the billions of human hours sacrificed daily by people whose time is of high value. Those in lines are being legally robbed of billions of their life hour dollars, which go to the corporate profit account as savings in labor costs. World Game, all the banks and airlines are now placing their Foyer's chrome metal standards, suspending velvet ropes within which the queue of customers may be neatly snaked. Airplanes have been squeezing paying passengers closer and closer together in wider planes until as many as 11 people sit abreast today. The World Game maintained inventory of socially abundant resources breaks down into 8 main categories: reliably, operative and subconsciously sustaining, effectively available 24 hours a day, anywhere in the universe, gravity, love, available only within 10 miles of the surface of the Earth in sufficient quantity to conduct, i.e., the complex of atmospheric gases, whose sun-induced expansion on the sunny side and shadow side of the world induced contraction together produce the world's winds. which in turn produce all the world's waves. Available in sufficient quantity to sustain human life only within 2 miles above planet Earth's spherical surface, oxygen. Available abroad our planet only during the day, sunlight. Not everywhere or every when available, water, food, clothing, shelter, vision, initiative, friendliness. Only partially available for individual human consumption, being also required for industrial production, e.g. water. Not publicly available because used entirely by industry, helium. That's interesting. Not available to industry because used entirely by scientific laboratories, moon rocks. World
Okay,
Games integrated.
let's pause
Sure.
just for a second. So what he just recited is a list of 8 resources. This is an inventory of socially abundant resources. That these are socially abundant resources. He breaks them down in 8 categories. And these are the 8 categories. You know, sunlight is one of them. But reliably operative and subconsciously sustaining, effectively available 24 hours a day anywhere in the universe, gravity and love are resources. Wow. Any other musings, comments, questions? And welcome, Manu.
Yeah, welcome, Anna. Nice to see you.
Manu.
Yeah, good morning.
Any other things that water, sunlight, friendliness?
It's interesting. I mean, in a way, what he's talking about as a resource, in addition to some of the basic needs that people need, and what you're highlighting, Steve, is essentially, and granted, I have a maybe biased perspective here, but it's, you know, these are virtues that you're looking at. And the reason why that's important is just for the reason that we discussed a little bit earlier. Virtues actually enable the ability to connect with individuals and ideas that we weren't necessarily able to connect before. And that's by actually being open to new experiences, and there's elements of friendliness, love, caring, mutual benefit. And so one of the things that has been lost in today's world, I would say, and I've said this before, is the kind of the loss of virtue, in the sense that there's a lack of respect and dialogue that actually takes place.
Yeah.
So therefore, things become fragmented, and the ability to actually solve a problem becomes very difficult. So it's like, imagine taking one particular subject and not necessarily being able to take other areas, and like science or math. If you're only allowed to take history, it's really hard to make kind of these connections that make it so make it possible for us to actually build on the past and solve a problem within the future. That's just some thoughts that I had when he knows. The other part was, which was, I have always thought about this in the sense that if we looked at money as just actually we're paying time, if say, okay, I'm going to buy this and it's going to cost 3 hours of my time, I think that we would be in a lot less debt in the sense that that would be a real awakening to how much we're actually spending. Anyway, it's just a thought.
I'm sitting here putting underlines on some of his poetic phrasing, and the fact that he says that the not everywhere or everywhen availability of water, food, clothing, shelter, vision, initiative, and friendliness, where he counts love and gravity as being always present, reliably, 24 hours a day. I don't know, to me, his paradigm just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just so practical. Talk about universal accounting. I like to talk in business. I like to talk about fully burdened accounting. And most people have no concept. Fully burdened accounting. Oh, what does that mean? Well, it means you count everything, you know. People drive to work. Let's account for that resource as well, you know. That's fully burdening. And they go, oh, but Bucky goes cosmic accounting. So it's one step above. So anyway, any other thoughts or comments on this?
Yep,
Manu,
I like
welcome. What's that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I really like that nature has no pollution.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the one about sulfur being released into the air is equal to, and that's something that needs to drive. By the way, we are opening a school in Bali next year in July, but the kindergarten is starting January, and that's going to be a biosphere school, an environmental school. All these things are going to take it in and drive there. The fumaralization, the cosmic accounting, and this one, the nature has no pollution, because we've been putting the one of the drivers for the school has been we've redefined pollution, right? And now I'm going to add in nature has no pollution, because it changes the paradigm of our approach and our perspective of the problem. Yeah, the problem. What if the problem is actually, like right now, the thing is that the problem is actually a resource, and you've already taken it out of the ground. Why wouldn't you use it? Why do you want to spend so much energy digging more out of the ground? So it changes everything. I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think also the other thing I will make clear to my team also is this whole thing about the resources that are abundant and renewable, and they never run out.
Yeah.
We should work from that space. Okay.
Except that friendliness seems to be not available 24 hours a day.
But 12 hours a
Yeah.
But it's 12 hours a day every day for forever. Until forever, as in, as long as the sun remains. It's amazing.
Yeah. So Manu, you've just joined our call. What thoughts do you have on all this?
Good morning first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Hello.
And sorry for coming in late.
That's okay.
I had to sleep. But what I was talking about a few years ago, a big theme I always hear was what you call pollution. When Kelly was still there. And we define pollution as leftovers.
Yeah.
So that is one point. The other point is that, yes, things can be inexhaustible, but we feel very constrained, limit, and timing. E.g. what Steve talked about, the sunlight available only during day. You wake up at night and you want the sunlight, you're not going to have a sunlight. You're going to have a reflection of the sunlight over the moon onto the earth, but you're not going to have a sunlight. To have a sunlight, you really need to position yourself in such a way that you are ready to use by day that sunlight, or you need to harvest it and store it in a battery and use it by night. So the importance of timing in the cycle. So you have time and timing. Time is, it happens only during day. Timing is that I position myself during day to be able to use it, to expose myself to the maximum of my capability of using that resource. So all of these that Bucky talked about, if you look at everything of the inventory, is talking about the inventory, but situated within a very well-defined boundary. That was the point I wanted to make.
Yeah. Well, that's what the world game is. It's talking about the world as the boundary.
Yeah,
That's what this whole
and
section-
important there, the word socially abundant resources.
Yeah,
Socially abundant.
yeah,
Yeah.
Socially means they are abundant within our organization to together use them in the most appropriate way to thrive.
yep. Yep. Very cool. Okay. We're I'm inviting everybody who wants to read. Anne, do you want to read?
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
good.
World Games Integrated World Computer System will have the task of differentiating out the abundant resources and facilities from the scarce and differentiating the scarce into degrees of scarcity, as well as into the day-to-day fluctuations of the borderline cases. The computer will keep constant track of where the resources are geographically located and where they are traveling. That's interesting. That which is in constant abundance is 100% socializable. That which is scarce must be reserved for tasks that serve all society in general. The element oxygen in the atmosphere is in abundance at sea level and need not be distributed by artifacts. Oxygen at 11,000 feet and more above sea level is critically scarce and must be compressed into tanks and distributed for breathing through masks and tubes. The gas helium is very scarce on planet Earth. It has very important unique characteristics. Number one, it is not flammable, as is hydrogen, though it weighs almost as little as hydrogen. Helium, though the socially theoretical property of everyone, becomes useless to anyone if compressed into 4 billion separate bottles, each of which is distributed to each of our at present 4 billion Earthians. There are a number of technical tasks that helium can perform to the advantage of all humanity, all of which can be programmed into the computer. The relative abundance of the 92 regenerative chemical elements in the thus far known universe is about the same as the inventory of their relative abundance on Earth. The relative abundance of the chemical elements is also approximately the same as that of their occurrence in the organisms of their human bodies. All this data and all the tasks that can be performed by each element to the greatest advantage of all humanity will be programmed into the world integrated computers to make it evident to all humanity which eco-technological strategy at any given time will produce the highest advantage for all, against which information it can be determined what alternative advantages might attend implementing and supplying the essentials for realization of newly proposed invention initiatives for various humans. I have no idea what I just read.
I know it. I'm sitting here reading. That is one of the, again, that could break a set. So what does that say? Let's pause what that says. All this data and all the tasks that can be performed by each element of to the greatest advantage of all humanity will be programmed into world integrated computers. Well, that hasn't happened yet.
No, I mean, I was thinking when I heard that, I just thought to myself, that's technically somewhat. I was thinking about how Bucky even thought about this when he wrote it, because there was really no internet to the degree that we obviously have it today, and there was something. So this is it's kind of remarkable. I was just thinking about how he even came up with that, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there is some, yeah, Joe,
Oh,
sorry.
I'm done. I'm complete.
I think there's something else that is saying. In that, in recognizing the inventory, there are things that are of common that you shouldn't try to separate. Like as helium. Helium plays a role, but that role is not, like you say that if you took helium and you divided it and gave it into each
Right.
part, each and every of the inhabitant on Earth, it would be useless.
It'd be useless.
That's true.
Maybe even dangerous. I don't know. It would be useless.
Well,
So
helium
helium
is-
plays, but we have to recognize what is common. We are on board the spaceship Earth. We are in the spaceship Earth. What I mean in is that in the biosphere, spaceship Earth with its biosphere. And we shouldn't try to tweak it. We should align with it, not tweaking it. An alignment means recognizing the hierarchy of what it is, where it is, and when it is. And aligning for the energy flow to the best. And he says that we can use technology to really store appropriately, retrieve appropriately, and use appropriately. But not to invent. We discover, we store, and then we use.
Yeah. Helium is, I think it's a byproduct of fusion. I think helium is.
No, helium is an element on its
know.
own.
I know it's
Yeah.
an element on its own. It's inert. It doesn't do anything. No, it's not. It's safe.
It is the fuel of fission, Steve. The fuel of fission. Of fusion.
So deuterium is a kind of helium?
No. Deuterium is another element. The sun burns helium.
Okay. Alrighty, I thought I understood about helium and deuterium and hydrogen, but I don't. But that's cool.
No, they are elements.
But you're
I mean,
right. You're
yeah.
right. Bucky's pointing out that if you take all the helium in the planet and you put it in bottles and give it to each individual, there's no value. Unlike oxygen, unlike water, unlike food, unlike friendliness. Okay, cool. All right. Want to continue? Reading?
Oh, sorry. Yes. I just realized I hadn't taken care of lunch for the family.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I can, if you want to do that
Yeah.
really quickly, and then I can take over.
Okay. Could you, Joe, please? Thank you. Let me just put this through.
Sure. Now, it was World Gain that asked, as described before, one of the world's greatest oil geologists, Francis de Menendez, if he could write an accurate scenario of nature producing petroleum on planet Earth through the photosynthetic transformation into hydrocarbon of sun radiation by the vegetation and algae, and the succession of events following their transformation as the vegetation is consumed by other biologicals or is transformed into various residues, all of which are blown by winds or washed by streams and gradually accumulate in various geographical locations and become progressively buried within the planet's outer crust. Thereafter, there were various heats and pressures caused by ice ages, earthquakes, or deep burial below water or soil until those chemical heats and pressure conditions occurred, which are essential to the production of petroleum. Chad Nendez, I don't know. Does anybody know how to say that?
Chenendez.
Chenendez.
Chenendez. CHAD is the first syllable, Chad.
Chad, okay. Said he could, and after a year, he presented us with the scenario with all of its time increments and pressure conditions spelled out. We then asked him to figure out how much it would cost per nature per each gallon of petroleum for that much pressure and heat for that much time. Were calculated at the retail rate for that much energy for that length of time as charged us by the public utilities. The cost came to well over $1 million per gallon. Since World Games accounting
Hold it,
system.
hold it. I
Sure.
just want to say, I always trust Manu, and I just want to throw out, here we go. I asked generative AI on Google. I went to the AI on Google. And I said, is helium useful in fusion? Yes, helium is used in nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion uses lighter elements like helium and hydrogen, which are more fusible. Helium-3 is a non-radioactive isotope that's ideal for fusion reactors. Here are some examples of helium in nuclear fusion. Helium-3 and deuterium. This reaction produces an alpha particle and a high-energy proton. Helium-3 and helium, this reaction introduces a higher energy chain reaction, helium-3 and H2. This reaction produces helium-4 ion and a high energy proton. Helium is also used as a coolant in 4 major reactors. Just thought I thought I would add to what Manu said. Okay, good.
Since World Games accounting system is that of the universe's own time energy intertransforming requirements, we must accept as cosmically unquestionable the costing of petroleum, coal, and gas resources, which nature has been centropically importing and accumulating on planet Earth in order 10 billion years hence to turn the Earth into an energy exporting entropic star. For this reason, World Game considers all fossil fuels to be nature's own savings account, deposited in our Earth bank and not to be stolen by exploiters. Everyone knows that we should live on our energy income and not our savings account, nor should we burn our capital account production equipment in order to produce meter marketable energy. For there will soon be no further production capability. Atomic energy by fission or fusion constitutes burning our terrestrial production equipment.
Let's pause right there, please. I want to bring out this idea because I've been studying entropy quite a bit. Nature has been centropically importing and accumulating on Earth, on planet Earth, in order 10 billion years hence to produce the Earth as an energy exporting entropic star. Now, that blew my mind because in a recent Veritasium, the question was asked, how much energy comes from the sun to the Earth? Then how much energy does the Earth give back to the sun? And because of the law of conservation of energy, it has to be equal. Because energy doesn't get used, it just gets transformed. And he goes through in that thing and talks about how essential entropy is for life on Earth. And that Earth takes all that energy from the sun, then uses it in plants and animals which eat plants, and allows life to exist, and then radiates an equal amount of energy back away. So the Earth takes it in from the sun and radiates back an equal amount, which boggles my mind. And I'm going to go back and look at that entropy thing. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll find the link and I'll drop it in the chat before we're done. But I thought this idea of the Earth is an entropic energy exporting star. That's what it does. It takes the star energy from the sun, changes it around, and then exports that energy. He's calling the Earth a star. because it's actually doing something with the same energy that the sun puts out. I just think that's mind-boggling that he thinks that way. I'll find that link on entropy, and maybe it'll be of interest to you. Anybody else have?
Only that, Steve,
What?
only that you underplay the 10 billion years hence. The Earth is a star in the making. That's why Kelly used to say, we are star builders.
Yeah.
You know, hence 10 billion years 10 billion years hence. We are currently at 4.3 billion years.
Okay, good. In fact, there are many esoteric things that talk about the Earth becoming like glass and being a burning object. So he's actually saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's a star. The Earth is a star. We are in the process of building a star.
Yeah.
Because we import energy into growing. We accumulate. Do you agree to that? We are born tiny babies, and then we become big. When we die and the soul goes, where do we go? Where does the rest of our body go? It's buried.
Yeah, in fact,
so the weight of the Earth is increasing, it's not decreasing. The weight of the sun is decreasing, the weight of the Earth is increasing.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? It is tiny, but it's reality. The sun is burning out, is given. The Earth is receiving. And if you could weigh the thing at the, I don't know what degree of precision, you realize that the weight of the Earth, the mass of the Earth is increasing. And that of the sun is decreasing. But overall, in the universe, there's conservation. There are stars that are burning out, and there are black holes, you know, that are accumulating.
This idea that the Earth, the reason why we have coal on Earth is because plants created a thing kind of like lecithin. Plants created this fiber, and fungi had not figured, it took fungi 200 million years to figure out how to eat it. And during that 200 million years, these plants were leaving their fibrous carcasses to be built on by, compression over a period of time. And it took 200,000 years before fungi learned how to eat it. If fungi had known how to eat lecithin right from the beginning, there would be no coal deposits in the ground. Isn't that interesting? I'll find that article too, and I hope to put it in the chat. So I'm going to do the thing on entropy and the thing on coal. I'll find both of those before we're done, and I'll email them to you, and I'll put them in the chat afterwards, if in the next invitation. So very, very cool.
Okay, but I think there's also something important that is said here.
Okay.
Right. In life, in the finance, we talk about income, savings, and capital. Right?
Right.
Nature, the income that is coming to you daily,
right,
is the sunlight.
Right.
The saving accounts is fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Because it takes millions of years for them to become something that is, let's just say, dispensable. And that is fossil fuels. So it's a savings account.
Right. And we're depleting our savings account.
And then the capital account is the atomic itself, playing with the atom. Right. So we are attempting, in our short span of life, humanity has been around for at most 1 million years. We are attempting to burn all of that. We already make it daily, our daily income, our savings account. So we bankrupt basically, or we are bankrupting ourselves.
Right.
And today, we are attempting to create small fusions, right?
Yeah.
That we don't know that we are going to be capable of domesticating. Because it would take, it could, I don't say it would, it could take just one small reaction to set all of these things ablaze.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I thought about that.
And here's the paragraph to which Manu is referring right now, where he talks about the idea of atomic energy by fission or fusion constitutes burning our terrestrial production equipment. Here's where he talks about our energy income and not our savings account, nor should we burn our capital account production equipment in order to produce marketable energy. So that's the paragraph to which Manu is referring. Oh, that's just below where we are. I'm sure there was one place above that where he said that as well. So I'm going to come up here and just see, look for income there. What page is that?
I think this is where we are.
This is
Oh,
where
no,
we,
it's not.
yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, we're still above here. Yeah. Somehow I think it was above there. Now I'm kind of confused where we left off, but it was around page 223. So we're somewhere in here.
No,
Plus-
after.
We're definitely after that.
Yeah, we're here.
I think
Six
we're-
World Games accounting system.
No, I think we're down further.
Yeah, that's right, because here's the entropic star kind of thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
keep going.
Just as mentioned, that's where
I
we
think
should
as
start.
mentioned, yeah. So as mentioned, World Game finds that 60% of all jobs in the USA are not producing any real wealth. I just have to say something about that really quickly. It's just I've thought about that quite a bit. How we're in services, how we're like basically all based on services. And when I was in consulting, I really was wondering, what are we actually producing? You know, and as far as real wealth is concerned, real life support, they are in fear underwriting industries or are checking on other checkers, etc. The majority of the jobs occasion the individuals using 3 to 4 gallons per day of their automobiles to go to and from work. At true cosmic costing, this means $4 million per worker per day. Obviously, the computer finds that it would save the planet Earth's energy account 500 trillion a day to give all non-wealth producing workers their full pay to stay at home.
I love this.
And that's an interesting calculation.
Yeah, this is universal basic income before anybody ever said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the same way,
But
the
it-
World Games.
but-
Oh, sorry.
But he's saying something very profound. Instead, by having spaceship Earth as 150 with 150 captains, you have the result is that more than half of all the jobs or occupations are those of gatekeepers. People that are just enforcing the rules and rules which are not necessarily rules that help.
Yeah,
Right.
the Native Americans had that figured out. Native Americans did not go to work. They planted their crops, but they planted their crops in places that would grow pretty much naturally. And they would just, as they followed the buffalo, they just move where they planted crops, and they'd harvest the crops and leave them in the rocks and then come back and find them again. And they just moved along with the buffalo. They didn't fact check. They didn't double check the checkers. They just basked in the sun and breathed the air. Okay, good. And Joe, I know that you're you enjoy reading, and if somebody else wants a chance to do that, if Manu, if you want to read, please read. Everybody
Okay.
gets fun.
In the same way, the World Games world around integrated computers will show that it will save pay handsomely to pay all professors and teachers in full to stay at home or in their laboratories and relinquish all teaching to video cassette, whose selectable program are to be called out by individual students of all ages around the world to be shown on their home television sets. The old educational facilities and a small fraction of individual teachers who love most to teach will use the old educational facilities within which to produce the cassette programs.
Let's pause let's pause
Yeah,
for a second.
okay, I disagree
love
with
this.
that.
I don't. I think it's actually perfect.
I think it is democratization of learning, and yes, this is profound that he's actually picking up on this, that, you know, how there are things that information and educational programs that are accessible that weren't once, and obviously with the advent of YouTube or even AI, like as how it can work with Socratic questioning a kid is pretty cool. Nonetheless, it does ignore interpersonal connection. And I just simply don't believe that, to think that that's not part of education in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I agree with you. I think that one of the issues with homeschooling is that kids miss the opportunity to interact with other kids, and they
Right.
don't develop their social skills. And I think that's the point you're making. But I
Yeah,
think
it is.
he's making a unique point here. There are a lot of teachers who should not be teaching.
Yes.
They are total duds. They're bumps on a log. And he's saying here, the small fraction of individual teachers who love most to teach, they're the ones that should be teaching. You know, Bill Guy, the science guy, right? Carl Sagan, you know, Ann Tam, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, these are people who are called to share their vision of the universe, right? But most of them aren't. And my daughter Rachel runs a consulting business now. She runs her own educational consulting business. She's actually developed I forgot the word now, some kind of progeny, pedagogy. She developed pedagogy now for the New Mexico school system, for 3 districts in the New Mexico school system. And she's training the teachers how to train and showing them how much to have fun doing what they're doing. And a small she's frustrated with a lot of those teachers who they don't seem to care. They have a job. It's like they're checking the checkers. Go ahead.
Yes. Can you tell me the difference between facilitator and enforcer?
Yeah. What a good point.
That's what he's talking about.
Yep.
It's really good.
An enforcer.
Yeah, because if you have facilitators, even if it is computers, even if it is homeschooling, you will be able to facilitate, and then you'll be able from time to time to have group meetings. Imagine that the school facility becoming where kids willingly want to come and meet and exchange on a variety of subjects, rather than being a facility to teach geography. You understand what I'm trying to say? If I homeschool in mathematics and somebody else homeschool in history and somebody else homeschool in biology, we can meet and talk about things, because all of those, remember, are faces of the same polyhedron. Polyhedron that is called knowledge. So a play of it is biology and things like that. And I'm a kid. I'm always trying to relate to other stuff. But if we all meet in spite of meeting, but we're just exposed to the same thing all year long, do you agree to me that mathematically, conceptually, is going to impoverish us? You understand what I'm saying? Second law of thermodynamics. You cannot create energy. Everything that you do has a cost. Right? You use energy to create energy. That's another expression of it. Now, if we all meet with just a class, because we'll be talking about the group, social, whatever. When the same guys that have spent time in class being taught the same subject meet in the schoolyard between themselves, they exchange, right? But in the process of exchanging, there are spending costs. There is leftovers. There is pollution. But since there is no inflow of new energy, new information, overall, over time, you're going to manufacture people who just think they have tunnel visions. They all feel they are all being molded using the same mold. Right? They're not going to be able to think the way Becky is talking about yet. And that is the difference. That is the difference of you having your homeschooling when you're exposed to things. And then there is a facility with facilitator where from time to time, willingly, you can go, being encouraged to go there and exchange with other peers. It brings in a lot of things. So locally, you're going to be enriched. That's another view of it. I'm not saying that is the right one, but it's another view.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other comments, thoughts, questions? I just took the time to put those two links about entropy and coal. And the coal interview is with Brett Weinstein, and he's interviewing a guy named Chris Mortensen, and he is really big on regenerative everything. And so this conversation is really a good conversation. I thought of you guys a lot when I was listening to that. I'm so glad I got to share it with you. Very cool. Any other thoughts or comments or questions before we continue to read? Okay. Here we go. Bam.
Okay, where were we again? Well, after that,
I think we're right. We just ended on the individual
stay
teacher.
home. Yes.
No.
Well,
No,
have
No,
we
after
read?
that, the computer will prove.
No, yeah.
Okay, we're down below there. So
No,
we
we
read.
didn't
No,
we
no,
didn't
no,
read
no.
Kipling, yes.
You get the last
just before
paragraph
that.
and then the next,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
whatever,
Right here.
the computer.
The computer.
Okay, the computer will prove to society that it will pay to introduce automation wherever feasible and to allow the machine to work 24 hours a day while paying yesterday's worker in full to stay home. Only those who love each particular technology will keep the world around video education in operation. Those who pass the exam to qualify for such working will not be paid for it. They will act as does any amateur athlete, doing what they do for the love of it. This competing to qualify for all the production and service job will govern all work. The work will not be paid for. Everything the individual needs is already paid for. Rudyard Kipling's L'Envoi tells the story. Do I read the poem?
This is the poem.
Yes. When Earth's last picture is painted and the tubes are all twisted and dry, the oldest of colors have faded and the youngest of critics have died, we shall rest, and well shall we need to lie down for a neon or two, till the master of all good workmen shall put us to work anew. Then only the master shall praise us, and only the master shall blame. No one will work for money, and no one will work for fame.
Beautiful.
Mm.
This is the Star Trek mentality, right? In the original in all Star Trek, there is no money. Everybody does what they love to do. Beautiful.
So I
Same-
continue.
Same thing in Native American cultures. Okay, let's continue.
But all for the love of working, and each in his separate star shall draw the thing as he sees it, for the God of things are they are. World Game shows that we can discontinue newspapers and save the trees for fuel alcohol production. World Game find that all news can be disseminated by television and that computers can keep track of all information that fill the advertising and one advertisement pages. And any individual looking for any kind of opportunity can get the matching information from the computer in seconds. Individual can go shopping by cable television. Local universe is a term used by World Game to identify the macro cosmic limits of human observation. These macro limits are identified as the radius of the present maximum telescopic and radar-rich information. In 1980, the spherical sweep out of approximately 11.5 billion light years radius around planet Earth in all directions. World Game takes the inventory of relative abundance of all the chemical elements present within that radius as spectroscopically analyzed by the light received in all directions around us from all the stars and all the galaxies within the 11.5 billion light year radius distance. Wow.
Yeah, current science says it's 14 billion years. And in fact, they are saying that there could possibly be, and this is the new Webb, the James Webb telescope. It went to 14 billion years, and I think there's something projected beyond that for a possible 24 billion years. But right now, our light cone, what we can see, is 14 billion years. At the time of Bucky, it was 11.5 billion years. Just thought I'd put that out.
Importantly, what he's saying there is that universe is not something that is fixated. Universe is created and recreated.
Yeah.
But our capacity to observe, our capacity to see patterns, and our capacity to store that knowledge in order to put them as inventory.
Cool.
You understand what I'm saying here? Is that the boundary of universe is changing all the time. And Bucky defined universe as the sum total, not overlapping, only partially overlapping all knowledge of humanity.
Right.
Right? So the boundary of knowledge is changing all the time. So that's within, as he was talking, in 1980, he was talking about 11 billion years. Steve is now talking about 24, right?
Well, 13 billion or 13 or 14 billion years, but possibly 24. There's another 10 billion years of light we haven't received.
Okay.
Some people are guessing.
Yes. All right.
Cool.
But it's important to recognize that we don't know all. What we don't know is far bigger than what we know.
Right.
Therefore, really be humble in what we claim that we are. Yes, we can do things locally that make us look grandiose, but that grandiosity is small. It's never the scale of what can be. Okay.
Okay.
World Game takes the relative abundance of all chemical elements thus far found on planet Earth. The local universe inventories of the Earthian inventory of the relative abundance are somewhat similar. Wow. The local universe inventories and the Earthian inventory of power of the relative abundance are somewhat similar. The fractals, as in the relative abundance of a chemical element present or acceptably present in human beings' bodies. The Earthian inventory includes all the isotopes of all the chemical elements and the relative abundance of the latter. In respect of Earthian abundance, some of the elements are so relatively plenitudinous as to make them available for various universal technology uses. They are therefore socializable, but only when employed with other elements in instruments, machinery, structures, medicines, and nutriment.
Okay, let's pause there for just a second. Anybody have any comments or questions on that? I have a huge comment on that. You know, he's used this word socially available, socializable. I think Bucky was a socialist. But aside from that, even though that has some political connotations that may not be too favorable in our current political conversations, the other thing that really hit me here is that, let me see if I lost it with my semi-humorous comment here. Oh, I just, I listened to another video this week on physics. I'm a big thing on how the human body is made out of stardust. I mean, the iron in our blood, the only place that iron is made is in the last phase of a sun just before it explodes. And we have iron in our body. We literally are stardust. The phosphorus, the nitrogens, the things that make our body, carbon. Carbon is only created as a reaction in suns. We are stardust. And I heard and I was putting that in my book, but I heard a great one on how when the body decomposes, how it goes back to where it came from. Our body becomes the dust of which stars are made. Mm-hmm. And that's really a very poetic and very reciprocal kind of thing. And here we are in the middle of this. Here I am in the middle of this as a human being enjoying entropy. I exist because of entropy. Whoa, it just boggles my mind. So I wanted to say that. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Who wants to read? Ann, do you want to read again? Only if you have fun, because Joe wants to read. Manu wants to read. I think everybody should be able to read and have fun and get engaged. So if you want to read, Ann, and if not, pass the buck. I think we're right there at World Game 225, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're on mute. I think.
Okay, you're on mute, Ann.
So I'll be happy to read a couple of paragraphs, but
Cool.
I'm just going to say that I'm excited to know that I'm an alien. Technically what we are. World Game notes that gold is the most electrically conductive of all elements. It is also the most highly reflective of all metals and therefore has many functional uses. New computing circuiting and such functions as the new laser energy beaming with rubies will occupy the majority of the rare metals and jewels. Rubies function in producing laser beams, etc. Diamonds, being the hardest of all elements, have many cutting and other technical functions. All the rare stones and metals will have industries, unique industrial tasks to perform. The question then arises as to who will determine which technological initiatives should have prior access to the inherently scarce, high advantage functionings of the scarce and rare inventories of chemical elements. World Game finds that the computers fed with all the relevant energy efficiency facts will be able to demonstrate which users will produce the greatest long-term benefit for all humanity. World Game foresees that the greatest problems for humanity to solve in the future will be how to accommodate the initiatives of millions of humans who, freed from muscle and nerve-reflexing jobs, find their inventory of past experiences and their minds integrating synergetically to envision ever greater advantages to be realized for humanity. We will realize this age of regenerative inventing, which is rendering humans very effective in their cosmic functioning as local universe information gatherers and local information problem solvers in support of the integrity of eternally regenerative universe.
Okay, let's see here.
Yeah.
It's 9:28. We can probably go for another 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Yep. I consider it essential to pay all my bills in the swiftest possible manner. In whatever system I find myself, I commit myself to play the game, for I am not a political revolutionary. I am a design science revolutionary. Responding to criticism by individuals who said that the reason Buckminster Fuller was not trying to earn his living was because he was incapable of doing so. I told one of my audiences in 1947 about Opnoxico, a theoretical enterprise I had invented through which I could make vast fortunes of dollars in 1 year on an entirely legal basis, but one as typically undesirable to me as is all money making. I said, you have to decide whether you want to make money or make sense, because the two are mutually exclusive.
That's interesting.
I do not consider it to be money making when I insist upon being refunded for the development and overhead cost of the services I perform annually for others, which performance I undertake only in response to the request of others. The private enterprise corporation called Opnoxico was schematically designed only to serve as an object lesson. Opnoxico was designed to exploit the most sentimental weaknesses of humanity. In my theoretical Opnoxico's catalog, the #1 item suggested that on the last day that your baby wears diapers, you very carefully remove them, repin them empty, and stuff them full of tissue paper in just the shape in which they were when last occupied by your baby. You pack this assembly carefully into a strong corrugated paperboard container and send it to Opnoxico, which will metalize the diapers, then gold or silver plate them and send them back to you to be filled with ferns and hung in the back window of your car. The easily forecastable profits from this one item ran into millions of dollars per year. Okay, I go on. For someone else.
Comments?
We could,
It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
He's saying that because we like souvenirs or whatever, that is an event in our life, like the last, I don't know what, maybe last poo of our baby. So we can send them to a facility where that is packaged in a way that can become something that we hang onto our car and go along with, just for our pleasure. And you can make a lot of money with it, because every mommy will want to do that. Imagine that 1947 is when women are starting to drive. You know that? Early 50s. Yes. The women have just got in the US the right to vote, in the early 50s, and they are driving. And there's a sense of freedom. And then they had their baby, not the baby of a man. And then they can have a souvenir of their babies with something that is, kind of plated, and then they can hang it on the back, in the car, as a trophy or something like that.
Yep.
In
Footprint,
19
palm print.
Go ahead.
Sorry, baby footprint, baby palm print. That was one of the things I've seen. And I think, if I'm not wrong, nail clippings. Some kept the nail clippings from the first nail clippings. Yeah. And just thinking
Let me show you.
about that.
Do you see this?
Mm.
Let me show you something.
The women
but-
got the right to vote in about 1920. My mom was an active driver in the 40s. My mom was a single mom. I was born in 46. She was an active driver. It wasn't a new thing for her. It is not like women driving in Saudi Arabia. My grandmother drove and had a driver's license. Just wanted to say that. Okay, cool. Keep going. What were you going to say, Manu?
I take that out, but I just wanted to underline the fact that, you know, on how do you call these things? You know, like, you know, just our
Curious.
yes. But I was going to show this. You see this?
Yeah.
What is it?
Tooth?
A tooth.
A piece of my tooth.
Put it back in your mouth, Manu. There's no benefit in having that tooth out of your mouth.
Well, I keep it. I've been keeping it for years in this package.
But were you a kid when you lost that tooth, or did you get in an accident?
No, it's not even a tooth, a piece of my tooth.
Oh,
What happened?
what happened? Did you fight Frazier?
It broke. You know, I was trying to kind of, you know, I was a bone to crack a bone, and it cracked my tooth, and then I kept it there. Okay, so all right.
Good for you. I love it. Any other comments or questions? Okay, here we go. Whoops. Okay, good.
Eagerly, and that's what it is. Eagerly, or Joe, I don't know.
Eagerly,
you
my friends of 1947, on being told of Noxico, joined in the fun and began inventing items for its catalog. Next, they began sending me Noxico items, and then beginning to come on the market in 1950 for the first time and advertised in magazines. Plastic pebbles for your garden walk, and now prevalent by then, new plastic flowers.
Jeez.
I then showed how contributors of the original items sent to me in fun to keep the joke going could be persuaded to accept shares in Omnoxico in exchange for their contributions. Then the Faustian aspect of the enterprise revealed itself, for it was clearly foreseeable that stockholders would swiftly become so rich that they would tend to take the whole matter seriously. Overnight, they would lose their sense of humor as their greed was stimulated, and they became ruthlessly deliberate exploiters of humanity.
Oh my goodness.
Somehow or other, the theoretical Omnoxico concept has now 25 years later become a burgeoning reality. Private enterprises now building airports with ever longer walkways and hotels with ever increasing numbers of levels of ground floor and basement arcades to accommodate the ever more swiftly multiplying Omnoxico stores.
I want to say, let me just insert right here. Oh crud, I lost it because I was worried about inserting. Overnight, they lose their sense of humor because it suddenly becomes a profit center, right? And so the stockholders start making money and they forget that it was a joke in the first place. And they're making so much money now, they're taking their business seriously. And that, let me see, that is something that's on the tip of my tongue. And I'll think of it here. But that parallels so much. He calls it the Faustian aspect of enterprise revealed itself. Remember Dr. Faust in the Goethe's Faust has a conversation with Mephistopheles, who's the devil, and makes a contract with the devil to that the devil will serve him until he's satisfied with life. And the devil's now pissed off. 400 years later, Faust is still screwing with the devil, still inventing dumb things, still finding ways to profit, still finding ways to use people. He calls it the Faustian aspect of enterprise. Very, very interesting to me. And there's still a point I was trying to make, and I got lost in there somewhere. Maybe I'll think of it. But Obnoxico, geez.
Can I make a point here?
Yeah, please.
Okay, interior plants, right? Is a lifestyle. You want to have living plants in the house.
Yeah.
You have pots, you nurture them, and it has a certain thing that you believe in. There's a certain exchange that you have with these plants, right? Now, if you go to a nursery today, which of the living plants that you can put in pot in your house, or the plastic plants is more expensive? Can you tell me?
I know plastic plants are a big deal. A lot of
Okay.
people have plastic
So,
plants in their
right.
bathroom.
Still
My
do.
point is the whole industry that has been burgeoning, that is becoming big. But what purpose does it serve? Other than the pleasure, even if it's killing us, because our environment is still poor and it's getting poorer. But the fact that we come and see something that's green in the house make us believe that in our mind that thing green is the actual stuff. It's not. Because we didn't do the inventory well of what it takes to have a plant in a house. The other side of it, the science side of it, the unseen side of it, is that you have to take care of a plant. You have to nurture it. You have to prune it from time to time. You have to water it. You have to care for it. All of those things are nothing that are seen when the plant is exhibited in the pot and somebody come and see in your house. But it's things that you do. And it's become a big business, as you say.
Mhm.
People will build airport to export plastic plants.
Yeah.
Charter 747 to export them because somebody wants it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're almost finished with this section, so we'll be able to finish it off tonight. Who wants to continue reading?
I can do it. Human beings traveling away from home with cash in their pockets, thinking fondly of those left behind or soon to be joined loved ones, are hooked by the realistic statuettes, I'm sorry about that, of 4-year-old girls and boys with upturned faces saying in a cartoon balloon, "What did you bring me, Daddy?" As the banking system pleads for more savings accounts deposits so that they can loan your money out to others at interest plus costs, the Obnoxico industry bleeds off an ever greater percentage of all potential savings as they are sentimentally or jokingly spent the acrylic toilet seats with dollar bills cast in the transparent plastic material, 2 teddy bears hugging an alligator, etc. World Game is anti-Obnoxico and commits itself to making Obnoxico and allied activities obsolete rather than attacking it directly.
Okay,
Wow.
that ends the part. And see, that was a big strategy for Bucky. The idea is don't argue with people, just create a model that works better. And everybody will join that club. But I tell you, what did
But-
you bring me, Daddy? I mean, geez. Go ahead.
But talking about responsible enterprising,
Right.
responsible entrepreneurs. I always have this example we were here in 2009 when the white paper of blockchain was released just after the great financial crisis of 2005 to 8. What has it morphed into? It's morphed into Bitcoin, into cryptos, into all of these energies pursuing things that are just not what blockchain was about. Blockchain was about integrity of accounting,
Yeah,
of system.
yeah.
It wasn't about
Exploiting.
speculation.
Yeah.
It wasn't about not producing things.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I hope that I'm wrong, but I'm seeing the damage that is being done to Gen X or Z, I don't know. What is the generation now? Who are the 20 years? 20
Yeah.
years is what? Generation 1.
Alpha.
Okay.
They're
What
called
is
Gen
it?
Alpha.
To the
Alpha?
alpha.
Geez, well, let's
Cool.
alpha means something wonderful.
That we come to a point where everybody is now preferring to rent, as Bucky says, you rent, but you rent on things that don't make sense. It wasn't the abundance. It is not renting in abundance mentality. It is renting in the scarcity mentality paradigm.
Yeah.
Because you're renting from me, the land, the property owner. Which property hasn't changed, but it is priced money terms 10 times what it was when I acquired.
Right.
On what basis, you don't know. It's only on the basis of all the clips that have been taking place and money stealing and your wealth stealing and pauperization, of the general population. We're so poor that we don't think, we just follow things. And that is just terrible.
I remember watching Night at the Museum with Ben Stiller, and how at the beginning of the movie, Owen Wilson is watching cat videos and watching cats chase little bright lights on the floor, and how the human beings are just rolling in the aisles laughing. And then at the end of the movie, they get out of the museum. All these creatures have come to life. They get out of the museum by the skin of their teeth, and they're all relaxing because they think you got it over. And all of a sudden, the lions on the entrance of the museum wake up. And we think, oh crap, we're going to go for another thing. And Ben Stiller pulls out his flashlight and wiggles the light on the ground, and the big giant lions are jumping on spots in the ground. And that's how the movie ends. It is like, our whole culture is based on, what did you bring me now, Daddy? It's a disease. Wow.
Yeah, really
Any,
quickly. Yeah.
well, in fact, why don't you go ahead and start, Joe? Let's do takeaways. How are you feeling, and what's your takeaway?
I'm feeling, great. It was, a great conversation, and I just love being here with you guys. It really does bring stability to my Saturday. One of the things that actually Manu was just commenting on, and this is a takeaway from weeks ago, when you were just talking about the ownership of property, and how that the price increases essentially without doing any kind of real work, that the cost of ownership is actually going down, where the cost of renting is actually going up. I mean, so that I think is something that is, it's a problem in the United States right now. And I think it's the source of a lot of housing issues. So I think that gap has to be closed somehow. I haven't thought enough about the solution because, there are other factors when it comes to developing property that and Steve knows this better than I, that have to be factored in. But somehow I don't know, that the costs can't go all to the consumer. That's essentially what I'm saying. You know, there are a couple things that really kind of stuck out to me is, you know, the responsible entrepreneurs comment that you had made, Manu, is something that's been a theme throughout the book. You know, going back to the Dodge brothers where they talked about, you know, essentially when they were the ones building the car and the people that were actually building the car and started the companies, and when they became separated from the products themselves, that the approach to the business, the business suffered, as well as the employees. That's just something that just came to mind. But one of the things that honestly, and I'm still thinking about is that how productive are we in what we do every day? I think that that's one of the most important things to ask ourselves in general, because I think about that a lot, in the sense that how many of us are actually contributing to the economy, and it's really hard to figure that out. And you know what is necessary, what needs to be done, and what doesn't need to be done. And yeah, you know, we're primarily a services industry, and I just used to think to myself, there's a lot of energy going into with very little return, and that's just my thought. So that's something I think that we should constantly be asking ourselves. I also appreciated the fact that we were talking about the unnecessary rules as well. My thought was initially like, oh, well, there's this other layer where you have people enforcing laws that that aren't necessarily needed. But then Manu actually mentioned the idea that there are gatekeepers that are making the rules that then can benefit themselves. So I think that there's there was one point also I want to come back to is the helium and hydrogen part of our conversation, and I need to come back to that. And this is a video I'll actually watch for I think it's a 20-minute mark, or 25-minute mark. But and actually that's enough. I have some other things that I could share. But I really do just appreciate hanging out with you guys on Friday night or Saturday night. And so it's a lot of stability in an empty house. So I appreciate that, seeing you guys. It really does mean a lot to me. Anne, how do you feel? What are you taking away from today?
Okay, the one that was very powerful was actually the abundance of the resources, and the fact that we don't think about it that way. And the other thing is, yes, I do have real plants outside and fake plants inside my house. And yes, they cost a lot more than the plants themselves. So yeah, Manu, exactly as you said it. The other thing is the making sense. That was what drove my journey, actually, because there were many things that didn't make sense with dealing with the children in the education system, and how kids are. Okay, we're talking about education. It's about the children. Full stop. Has to be all about the children, and not what adults think it should be in terms of how they learn, right? How they learn. I'm not talking about the content. I'm talking about how they learn. And if we look at COVID, if we learn anything about COVID through COVID, was that you cannot have kids at home and work at the same time. Yeah, parents just cannot cope with that. And kids don't work well just sitting in front of a computer listening to boring teachers. They need Bill Nye. They need Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yes. And programs like that, and not teachers. we should do away with teachers actually, when it comes to keeping the kids learning on screen. Yeah, but what the children need is, I think I mentioned it before, but I'm not sure if does anybody remember me talking about this TEDx talk called Serve and Return?
No.
Not sure.
Yeah, go check it out. A little girl, 6 years old, on TEDx, and the title is Serve and Return. It's from it's from Australia, and this little girl talks about it. And when you listen to her, all schools, all adults need to do this with children, and even all the way to teenage years, they need that still. Then once you understand that, it literally unlocks everything for the children. So because of that, they need human interaction. Okay, yeah. Or otherwise, you have to be so darn entertaining that you can keep them glued to the screen. Otherwise, no. Okay. Yeah.
And before you go away, here's a
Mm.
TED talk right here. Let me see. Where was it? There's something down here about 5 steps to brain building, serve and return.
Yes.
But
Look for the one
5
with
steps
the
to brain building, serve and return, and then
that little girl, that right there, Molly Wright. Molly
okay.
Wright.
All right, I'll put that in the
That's the
chat.
one.
Whoa, I'll put it. Hang on. There we
The
go. I'll put
cutest
it in the
thing.
chat. What?
It's the cutest thing to watch.
Cool.
Yeah, but so apt.
Cool. I'll make sure that it gets in the chat here in the next couple seconds. So keep going.
Yeah, yes, I'm complete there. And Manu, how do you feel and what is your takeaway today?
I feel better. A lot better than when I got into this call. And again, my apology for being late. One of the things that was striking was we are, and Steve said we are stardust. That nature repeats in ourselves. And the question I beg is that if we are like nature, why do we want to shape ourselves differently from nature? And I think that maybe we can do differently from nature for a while in order that at the point of arrival, we are like nature better locally. That's one point that I have to, struck me. The other stuff is pollution. And this comes over and over. Pollution is a leftover. Pollution is what you are not using now, immediately, that you're not using currently, that is in the back burner. But it serves to be aware of pollution, that is energy that is around. And that will surely come back to you in a different form or with different events, things like that. The other thing that is important is, to me, was in distinguishing between the daily account, the saving account, and the capital account. Income, savings, and capital. And that is very important. And the notion that we have here, that is responsible entrepreneurship and making sense entrepreneurship was quite powerful things that I take away. And the thing is, you have to decide whether you want to make money or you want to make sense, because the two are mutually exclusive. You want to make money or you want to make sense. Money is just an idea. A lot of people are explaining that money is not real. Money is just an enhancer. Is a way of feeling. So money will just is an amplifier. And that really is important to me. The idea of being responsible is so scary to individuals, or individuals are so ignorant to it that they just do things. They just fall into a mold and do things as they see it being done around. Are you going, if you are convinced of the fact that some form of tobacco are hazardous to health, and then you have a small shop, we call it here Spaza, near a low-income place where there's a lot of blue-collar workers, but who smoke a lot. Are you going to stock your shop with more cigarettes because you make a lot of money with? What will you do? And that is the meaning of Becky's challenge, is that a final examination. He say it is the individual that is in final examination. Is that choice that you make. The choice that he choose to let go of, what was the name of a company?
Obnoxico.
Right?
Yeah, Obnoxico.
Yes. If it were you, what will you do?
Yeah.
Will you become the star of magazines, the entrepreneur of a year, because you are selling widgets which make no sense, but which people like and buy in abundance?
Yeah.
Or will you pursue responsibly solving problem in such a way that your wealth is the leftover? Is really when you account the value that you add is more than the cost of what you use. That's what he called leftover. The value added over time, let's say, is more than the cost that you use to add that value. And that's what I take away from here. And I assume, I don't know if we agree that we're breaking at this stage, but otherwise for me, I wish you all a fantastic, fantastic end of year and replenishing abundantly. What is it called here? The word was, what was the word, Steve? I tried to note it down here.
What
He
word?
used a very interesting word. Let me just, I'll find it now. Plenitude.
Yeah, that was a weird word.
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
but
what was it?
plenitude, abundance.
Yeah.
I wish you a plenitudious enjoyment of the end of the year and recharging for us to start really, from where we left in the new year. That's my takeaway. Steve, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Thank you for that.
Cool. I'm just really delighted to be here. And I had a couple thoughts. The gatekeepers make rules, and then they hire checkers to make sure the rules are in check. By the way, we do need some rules. I mean, isn't it good? I heard on Sabrina Hassenfelter, I think that's her name. She's a physicist, journalist who reports a lot of things on the web. She talked today about how researchers were getting sued by corporations because the research was showing that the product produced by the corporation had problems. So they're going to courts to sue researchers to shut them up and get the articles taken off stage, because we are so committed to obnoxicons,
Mhm.
Hmm.
to items of obnoxiousness. And, you know, we do need to have checkers, but, you know, gatekeepers hire checkers and then hire other checkers who check the checkers. That's what Thing puts. I thought that was a great line. And I'm really enthused because everybody wants to read and everybody likes to participate. So I'm so grateful that everybody gives everybody space to jump in and share a few paragraphs. And that's a fun thing to do. The links I put in there about entropy and about coal are very, very exciting. And I just learn a lot when I'm on this call. And about dates and times. Next week is the 16th and the 17th, and the next week is Christmas weekend. I actually will be traveling on the 16th, and I can be home by the time of this call. We could do a call on the 16th. And then, of course, we have New Year's, and then we have the 6th of January is the next weekend, 6th and 7th. So I love this call, and you know, but do we want to skip next week? We can
No.
cancel the call on the 16th. What, Joe?
No, I'd rather be here. I really would.
Rather be here. Ann, are you okay
especially
with
next
being here
week.
on the 16th?
Yep. Yes, I'll be returning because my time is ahead of you. So I'll be back by the 17th. Yes.
By the
So make
17th.
that the last one for the year.
Yeah, we could do that. The 16th, 17th will be the last one for the year, and I can make it back by then, I'm pretty sure. Although I may dip out on that because I'm heading south to play music with my brother. Then coming back, we got the Christmas weekend, then we have New Year's weekend, and then we have the 6th. We could start on the 6th, or we could start on the 13th. What do we want to do?
I think for me, I'll prefer mid-year because middle of the month because beginning of the year is our school starting.
Okay, cool.
So that might make more sense for me. That'll be my request. If you want to go ahead, you can. I mean, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we'll wait.
We can wait. So then we won't start again until the 13th or the 20th. 13, 14 or 20, 21. What's better for you, Ann?
14th is fine. Perfect. For me, 14th, 13th for you. Yes.
Okay, good. So then
Will
we'll
you be
start.
back?
What?
Will Manu be back? I know Manu, you have some traveling coming up as well. Will you
I
be
could,
back?
I would just be arriving home. Yeah, but I can make the 14th
Okay.
because
All
I'll be in on Saturday midday, so I can make a call on Sunday.
Okay. So that means that this is the last call for the year, right? Is that what we just said?
No, next week.
Next week.
Next week we're going to do 16, 17. Okay, we're doing 16, 17.
I will be away, but anyway, yes, that's
right.
fine.
Can you attend the call long distance, or you're gonna
No.
just okay?
I'll be on the flight.
All right, well, we'll keep that in mind, and depending on who gets here next week. Okay, cool. So 16th, 17th is our last call. 13th, 14th of January is our first call, and we're gonna take a break in between. So, but just in case I'm not here, you guys have a great holiday and have a great new year. My family, they meet with their mom on Christmas, so I get New Year's, which I really like. And I'm having a Dadmas party instead of a Christmas party at the mom's. I'm having a Dadmas party after Christmas, and it's going to be all about your vision for the future and about your New Year's resolutions. And we're going to toast out the new year, and that'll happen before January is over. So I'm very excited. I love you guys. I love our conversations. I learn a lot by the depth that you guys bring to the conversation. And boy, did I make a lot of notes in my book this time about universal basic income and profit and Bucky's idea about obnoxicons. Okay. All right. See you next week. Those of you who can make it.
I think see you Wednesday. I think.
Yeah, good. We're going to do Wednesday, and then we'll decide what we're doing Wednesday.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.